So yesterday, we set the stage, and our consultant, Gregor, set up the golden egg at the end of this. And that prize is pretty big, and it's billions of dollars. It's 2% of our GDP. It's a huge, huge number. It's something that is mind-boggling. When I think about it, last night I was sitting around thinking, holy smoke. So yeah, it's a huge, huge prize. It's obvious that there would be zero reason that everybody wouldn't get 100% in behind and look for it. No matter what the investment that you would have to do, the return would be something incredible, and it would happen off relatively quick. We had a nice chat with our premier. Our premier gave his verbal commitment, and again, I use verbal. It's his commitment of himself and his government to be actively involved in this process. We had the announcement, and of course, our environment is changing. And we're going to a new product, a product that's greener. I'll be honest with you, we were at DR Pellets 20 years ago talking about it. I can remember at that time, I think it was Premier Tobin talking about not one DR pellet will be made in Sept-Îles. It's going to be made here. So that's the good news. They are being made here, but those were green pellets back then. It wasn't the reason we were going towards them then. But now all of a sudden it's become a topic that we can use in an environmental friendly way. So I find it interesting how those environmental, a lot of us look at them as ways of slowing down technology, slowing down prosperity, slowing down things, but they can actually now be levers to promote technology, to promote prosperity, to promote an opportunity for growth. So instead of looking at them as something that could be a hindrance, they're actually something that, in an industrial sense, I'm not talking about in the clean world sense, but in an industrial sense, it's an opportunity. So we had that, and we had the announcement that they're going to help the underwriting process to decarbonize, which is good. We went into the healthcare discussion in the afternoon, and we've learned from Sandy the restructuring of the Newfoundland health system and how we're going from separate boards to one entity, and that the collaboration, I think, was the main message I got from them, that might streamline the process, that we have a more collaborative, we can take advantage of the skills and the knowledge in one area and be able to use it somewhere else. So that was good to hear. And we had Dr. Parfrey talk to us about well-being. And again, as somebody who's been in physical education as what I've learned in my life, but also to be in coaching and to be involved in promoting fitness and that in my whole life, it's magic to hear somebody talking about that, and government to be talking in those terms. And again, we can actually tie specific dollars and specific levels of service to us being a more healthy, have a more well-being in our community, and that we can save those those types of skills for really needed reasons, and those just when we're just pushing into it, we've got a cold or something. Those colds are not nearly as prevalent when we're healthy. The cuts and bruises when we take care of our walkways and take care of each other are not nearly as prevalent. Our mental health is something a lot better when we take 5 minutes each to talk to our neighbor and say, how you doing? Is there anything I can do to make your day better? So there's small things that we can do each and every day. And like I said, if we just save 1 hour each of our medical time, in our region alone, it's 3 or 4 doctors in a year worth of hours. It's really easy math to help us figure out ways that we can improve the system, and we can keep those 3 or 4 doctors and we can use them on really important things. So that was a part of yesterday. And Dr. Parfrey talked us how to balance that, focus on well-being and the services provided. And he also talked to us about it's a new world, and we have to start in embracing IT. We have to start embracing a new world and taking on virtual medicine, being able to be comfortable with that. And again, that's a huge change for us when we're talking about healthcare and how we've received it for years and generations and things like that. So embracing that and being able to understand how that can work is something that we need to work on. Today, we looked at things from the industrial side, and like I said, I've been around here for over 50 years. I've never seen three of the companies sitting together at the one table and being open about their future. So I thank them for that. It's very nice to see. And they explained how the same challenges that we as communities see, we as individuals see, they're seeing it too, and how it affects their business and how they would like to move forward. Again, we discussed the travel as one of those concerns today. To them, it's not the biggest thing. It's just a cost to them. It's not something that's specific. For you and I living out in the real world, travel is something that's a really to-heart issue. To a mining company, that's just another cost that they will have to push on to their customer. And it's something, so it's not as big a highlight for them as it would be as us individually. A couple of things I've heard over the last couple of days, and then I'm going to start opening the floor a little bit. In the past, we've had a task force or economic development officer, those types of positions, or that type of group there to represent us as a whole, represent us as a community moving forward. And I think I've heard loud and clear that's something that we want to start again or get reinvigorated again. We want to have the government help us fund that role. If I was to add my 2 little cents worth to that, I think that's got to be a role with bite. It's got to be somebody that's got to have a really good understanding, and it can't be some role that's at a half a salary of somebody that's in the mining industry, so that you got some young 25-year-old who has all the energy that you would want, but they don't feel like that they're an equal player at a table. You need to have somebody there who knows what it's all about, who's lived it, who understands it. Probably somebody who's coming out. Yes, go ahead, sir.
That role is existing and it's been vacant for nearly 4 years, so it's being posted for now. So it's not the new.
That's not the role we're looking for.
Okay. But we still need that kind of development.
Well, that's not the role that's going to.
And you'll forgive me. I'm not familiar with the exact terms that are used or whatever, but I'm just seeing that somebody that would be looking at our socioeconomic situation in the community, and that would be a driver for us, who would be a focal point that we could work through. Would that be a better way of putting it? And again, I think it's important that we capture that as one of the actions, if that's what we think as a group, that we need to have that, but it needs to be somebody who has not only got the drive, but it also needs someone to have that experience and knowledge of the issues that are in front of us, that also feel like they have the power of this group or this community and behind them, and that they would have a say at the table. So with that, I think that's what I've heard so far. Are there any other thoughts as we go into tomorrow that you would like to make sure that we highlight, that we make sure that we're covered, knowing that we're the main issues tomorrow that we'll be dealing with will be labor and housing, but are there any other things that, or just comments in general on how things are going that people would like to make? Go ahead, Ray.
I want to speak as well. We speak a lot about housing. I'm Ray Erger with Unleashed Volume. Test 1 2. Test 1 2. Test 1 2. I think it just came in. So I'm Ray Erger, and I just want to bring up, when we talk about a shortage of housing, that there is a project a lot of people might be aware of that's being worked on right now. And that's for the cottages down over the road between Route 500 going on down to probably not as far as Ashwanabe this year, but D Mill. So it's about 170 cottages roughly that are looking for power, which frees up home. We know there's about 50 that's willing to move out right away. That's 50 homes that'll be freed up. There's at least, you check the government site, but another 10 or 15 lots applied for building cottages down over the road, that people are waiting for power, that they plan on building homes to move into. They can't even apply for power yet because they don't have the lots approved, but you can check the government site and you'd actually be able to count them up. So that is a little bit of a hidden thing that could be done easily. I've been working, Jordan Brown has been involved with this, Yvonne Jones, myself, and Newfoundland Hydro has been about going on maybe 4.5 years now that I've been working on this. And the first letter should be coming out to the Albert Lake area for power. They should start seeing the first letters probably starting early next week. So it's just something that a lot of people aren't aware on, but there is something moving ahead for this.
Yeah, so I spoke at the public consultations as well. So I just kind of wanted to get up and kind of elaborate on, I guess, what I said for that. Again, I feel like, you know, we're asking to put more and more money into things, but at the same time, we need to also look at decreasing and, you know, and doing better with what we do have. Another thing that I feel like we're really lacking here is development of social enterprise. You know, we've been in a northern region where a lot of the services that we require as a basic need are essentially taken advantage of by private enterprise. So, you know, single operators in an area where, you know, you're paying a premium for that service because of the demographic and the region. So development of social enterprise would be, you know, basically non-for-profit operators such as, you know, cooperative grocery stores and whatnot. You know, anything of that sense. And those, I think, are the social factors that are going to improve the quality of life within the region and really give us that, you know, that driving force that we need to retain and attract people to the region. And, you know, just give us the quality of life that is going to keep people here and bring people in. So anyway, that's it for me. I just wanted to mention that. Thank you.
You're out in the back there. We got time. We'll go around the table. Don't worry.
You got Peter, don't forget.
Yeah.
Yes, my name is Peter McCormick, and I'm with Source Atlantic right now, but I'm a retired teacher from 30 years. I started my teaching career here in Labrador West and retired here. When you start talking about labor, we're going to need to get the education system straightened out here first. If you look at people selling houses in the real estate market, it's close to schools. What families are going to want to come here when they find out that the high school is 5.5 teachers short, that the middle school hadn't have a guidance counselor for the last 2 years? When I came in 1986, Labrador West had by far and away, not even close, the best school system in the province, maybe in the country, bar none. Schools were subsidized by IOC and Wabash Mines at the time, as were teachers' salaries. There's a joke that teachers from Labrador West used to do up care packages of chalk and erasers and send them to their poor brothers and sisters who were teaching on the island. But that all went by the wayside, and I even heard someone very high up in one of the mines here, I would never move here because my children wouldn't get the same education that they get in my home. Well, shame on you. But this problem is not going to be solved unless people are attracted, young teachers. The only teachers who can really afford to come here now, they're attached to an electrician or an engineer or an RNC officer, but they can't afford to live here. When I came in 1986, I think there were 4 or 5 teachers' apartments. There's one down there now, and it's chock block full. And I know several teachers accepted a position here. A couple of days later, they had to cancel because they had no place to stay, or they did have a place to stay, but they couldn't afford it with their salary. So unless you get the education system straightened out here first, I don't think any of the other things are going to come on stream. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everybody. So great points brought forward. We have had some great discussions. One thing that I feel is lacking is the public transportation system here in Lab City, Wabush. I personally know so many students who have come here. There are young, struggling workers in our service industry who cannot afford 2 cars or even a car, and they need rides. So it is a shame that they have to walk in -50 below to College of North Atlantic to attend their classes. So I think it's about time. We have a growing economy. We have more people coming in. We have a lot of immigrants who have come in here. I think that we do need to look into public transportation as a means. That's just the start. So yeah, that's one of the things that's big for me. Yeah. Thank you.
Anybody else got anything they'd like to add today?
Hi, oh, I'm Julie Caillouette. I was born here as well. Strangely, none of my parents ever worked for the mine, so I've always been on a little bit on the outside. I now work for the Francophone Association. I think one thing that we haven't addressed in retention and stuff is the importance of the community groups that exist here, that have existed here since the very start. You have groups like the Legion, you have the Anik Lodge, you have the wonderful work that the Status Women is doing, the Francophone Association, of course, the Aboriginal Center. There's just so many community groups, and they're instrumental in retention, because that's who makes you feel like it's a community, like it's home. And a lot of the people now coming in don't know that these groups exist, so they'll stay home and look at Facebook and look at all the bitching that happens there and think this is an awful place. But really, if somebody pointed them to go see the Aboriginal Center, come to the Francophone Association, then you can make these connections that will bring you to other things, to make you love this place and see all the good that there is in it, all the sports groups that exist here. It's important to highlight that part of it. On a completely different note, I've heard more and more about the wage differentiation, whatever the word is there, between the people who elsewhere is a good salary, here is a low salary. But we have to be careful, because if you keep, I was a small business owner for a while, rent and all this stuff is expensive here. If you think about our grocery stores and stuff, for example, if you say, okay, we're going to give a living wage to everybody here, everybody's going to start at $75,000 a year, guess what's going to happen to your carton of milk? Guess what's going to happen? Now it's not going to be sufficient. Then you're going to have to raise all these people's salary to 80,000. So then our prices are going to keep going up. And it's a very hard balance to strike, because absolutely everybody needs a living wage. But the living wage doesn't have to be the IUC wage. It can be something else. Unfortunately, it's often one half of the couple. So there's a lot of social things that are really, really hard to address, because they're all so intertwined. So nothing's going to be simple. Looking super forward to working on this task force, though. It's going to be awesome.
Folks, just one follow-up on the transportation. If you're not aware, there's the Rural Transit Solutions Fund with the federal government. It's $50,000 to plan for your actual transportation route, and up to $3 million to implement it as well. I've looked at it a few times with my day job as well, and onto my part, and we can catch up a little bit later if you want to chat about it. But for anyone who doesn't know me, Brian Hurley, the other side of Iron Rock Brewing Co. with my brother Dave. I work full-time as well with a group of companies, Seafair Capital, based out of St. John's, big in the community care space, but very happy to join for these conversations as well too. But one of the omissions that I mentioned to a few folks last night was around small business. You know, I think our impact really punches above our financial impact. We export hundreds of thousands of dollars of beer and culture from this area, as well as substitute imports into the region as well too. So, and we're trying to grow that and get back on the same foot. As Julie mentioned, it's been a real struggle over the past 5 years. Our first lease is up this year, so we're working with our landlord to really figure out what our cost structure is moving forward, and really what the financial stability of our business is as well too, as I'm sure a lot of folks are as well. So I understand that the financial impact of our industrial operations is significant, but the collective impact of Mr. Harris here, I see, are there any other folks who identify from the small business sector as well too? 4 of us. Or a couple, yeah. Another, yes. So Just on that side of it as well too. I know we're really well represented by our chamber though, and very thankful of it. But I just wanted to put that footnote there in the feedback. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Terry Andrew. I'm from Shahajid, Labrador, and I run a small shipping company out of Shahajid. Is my hometown, and I've been trying to get some business around town area, and it's so hard, like to get in to the big doors, and everybody's saying Inu is first. And it sounds so real on the speaker. But I've been trying and trying for a year and a half now to get in Rio Tinto or even around town. And then saying Inu are first with IBAs. I don't see it myself. But the bigger players who have monopoly have to help the small companies. And I know I have a good little business on my own. And I like to grow bigger. And I'm not looking for to be a really high roller or anybody. I just want to put some food on table on there for my family. And I want them to take my business when I want to leave them something. And that's why you don't see many Inu 100% owned Inu companies. They don't know where to go. They don't know where to knock on the doors. And that's why you don't see many people like here today. You probably see the Inu Nation there. And so heartbreaking. Try to run my own company. Sometimes I do trips from St. John's right down to Lab City. Sometimes I go on my own and go. I was way up to Manitoba there this summer, and this is on native land, and I'm here today, struggling on Inu land, native land. And that's why I've been passing out my cards there, and I'm trying just to take the next day. And I say to myself every morning I get up, what I'm going to do today? Who's going to call me? And I also have a Facebook page under Niban Shipping. And if you don't know the name Niban, it means summer in my language, Inu. Means summer. And that's my daughter's name. But I've been trying and trying. It's so hard. And I had to take a day off, not to take any calls, just to come in here. And I'm really happy to hold this speaker to people could hear me, where I'm coming from. Thank you.
No, I'm just, first of all, like, really thankful that everyone is here and that we're having this discussion. I feel thankful that we were able to help, or that we were able to start a process that might help. But I will say that a lot of people have said thank you, and I don't deserve any of them. Lydia deserves them all. So I'll start with that. Yeah, we see it. Yeah. So that's the first comment. I do want to kind of reiterate what I said before, I think, and the comment about a person, I don't think it's a person. I think it's however many people it takes to professionally move some of these projects forward under the guidance of whatever it is. But I don't think that one person can necessarily do that. I think we need to find a way to fund however many people is required with whatever skill set they need to move whatever things we decide we need to do forward. So that's one comment. I've said to anyone from the government who will listen that we probably don't need an economic development officer. I think we need an executive level position in this town that's not related to anywhere else in Labrador, because our goals and needs are different, and that's not to undermine the goals and needs of the rest of Labrador, because to some extent they're larger than ours, but I think some of the ground we can make may help solve some problems elsewhere. So that's just a couple of comments. I don't know. Yeah.
And I think that's a good way for us to close up. I think it's again, I speak of I come here from away, and I heard again. I'll come back to that economist yesterday. The prize is humongous, and the opportunity for the whole province. Forget about, and let's just be humble. And we know we want this place to be the most prosperous place in the world. But when you change your GDP by 2%, that changes the whole province's future. And I again, it bamboozles my brain when I see that number. Like I said, in Ontario, I live there every day, and every second day I'm listening to the news, and the Premier Ford of Ontario is talking about this ring of fire, and he just wants to move the GDP 0.03%.
Julian Lake
Yeah.
and Tidewater, and he didn't.
Yeah. So like I said, and he's calling that's the future of Ontario. That's he's hanging his hat on that. And that's, like I said, the thought that we got an opportunity here that's 60 times bigger impact on our province than that, 60 times. And he's hanging Ontario's future on it. It just, the fact that we're not all jumping over ourselves, falling over ourselves to just do whatever it takes to get that done is you never get that single opportunity to do that. It's always has to be a mishmash of 1,000 things in 1,000 places to get that kind of change or growth in a province, and to have it just one place, one focus, and you can change your province that much. It's probably a bigger change than what the oil has done for us. I can't think that the oil would have had that big of influx 20 years ago. No, yeah.